Good evening, students. Welcome to PPS class. Yesterday, we started one concept called functions in C programming language. We understood some of the basics related to functions. We said we use functions for many reasons. Some of the major reasons. The first one is to achieve code reusability. So, whenever we use functions, we achieve code reusability. And the second one is to avoid redundancy in our program, repetition of code. Redundancy is nothing but a repetition of code. To avoid redundancy, we are using functions. And third important point for which we are using functions is to achieve modularity. So, to divide the big complex problem into smaller, understandable units, where each unit will be called as a function. Okay, so this is also one of the another reason for using functions. We said okay. So through functions, the code complexity will be reduced, and the code will become more readable, more understandable, easy to understand. These are all some of the advantages we said of using functions. Okay, and we defined the function as a set of statements or a group of statements or a block of code which we are separating from the regular flow of the program. Okay, wherein we said the regular flow of the program will be inside the main function, and if you call any function from the main function, what will happen? The control will be diverted, or we can say in regular terminology, the control will be jumped from the main function to the called function and execute the tasks, whatever you are mentioning, whatever you are specifying in the called function, and again the control returns back to the main function. So this is how we said the top down paradigm through which the functions will execute in our C programming. Okay, and we also discussed some of the points like with every object in C, the way how we do declaration, definition, and initialization. In that same way, we do function declaration, function definition, and function call. Here we don't do initialization for the function, rather we call a function. So these three things we said are important whenever we are creating a user defined function in our program. Okay, so functions we said of two types, predefined functions and user defined functions. Predefined functions, we don't write the code is already available in the header files. And user defined functions, we create them and we use the service of them in our program. Okay, so function declaration, we said it has to go in the global declaration area of our program. And function definition, we said after the main function, we write function definition. And function call, many times we call it within the main function, we said. Okay, from the main function, we said. Okay, so with all this understanding, let's just get into the advanced topics, some of the advanced topics in functions, because after knowing how to declare, how to define, and how to call a function, we need to understand some of the important points, advanced topics inside the functions. Okay, so in today's session, basically our focus is going to be on two important things. uh, the first one is function types, and the second one is interfunction communication, which we also call it as parameter passing. Interfunction communication, which we also call it parameter passing. See, this second point, whatever I mentioned, it is an LAQ question, long answer question. It is very, very important in point of view of your external examinations. Interfunction communication. Hopefully, I will try to discuss this interfunction communication along with function types. Interfunction communication also I will try to cover in today's session. Okay. So hope I'm audible to everyone. No issues with the voice and video. Uh, if anything goes wrong, or if anything is not going properly, if you face any technical issue, do let me know on my personal contact. Okay. Yes. Let's just, without wasting much of the time, let's just start the first topic here. That is function types. So we need to understand what are function types. Just pardon with my handwriting on this screen because I'm using a writing pad. So handwriting sometimes it will not come as clear as we expect. Okay. So function types we need to understand. So see, when we declare a function, we said we need to give the function name. Okay. So that I'm simply the syntax I'm writing here. Function name we are giving, and because it is a function, we need to use the parenthesis. Parenthesis we are using, and before the function, when we do the declaration, okay, that I'm explaining. When we do the declaration, this is how we do function name, and before the function, we need to specify the return type. A return type we will specify, and between these parentheses, we will specify the parameters, isn't it? Between these parentheses, we specify the parameters. Parameters can be 0 or more, but return type 0 or 1 only. That I will write over here, 0 or 1. But when we talk about parameters, we can have 0 or more. పారామీటర్స్ ఎన్నైనా ఉండొచ్చు, కానీ రిటర్న్ టైప్ ఈదర్ 0 ఆర్ 1 మాత్రమే ఉంటుంది. అంతకంటే ఎక్కువ రిటర్న్ వాల్యూని మనం ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి తీసుకోలేం. Only one value at max it can return. So that's the reason I'm saying 0 or 1. But here when we talk about parameters, 0 or more. Hopefully you understood, ma. So this is the function name. This is the input. Parameters are nothing but this is the input, and this is the return type. And say uh, we said, if you have parameters, you are mentioning the type of that parameters. If you don't have any parameters, then we are mentioning void here. Okay. So my parameter, my options here, either I can go with parameters. Input లో మనం parameters ఉంటే parameters specify చేస్తాం, లేదా parameters లేని కేసులో, if we don't have any parameters, then we specify void. Here also same thing. If we have return type, we'll specify the type. రిటర్న్ టైప్ ఏదైతే వాల్యూని ఫంక్షన్ రిటర్న్ చేస్తుందో ఆ టైప్ ని స్పెసిఫై చేస్తాం. అండ్ ఇఫ్ యూ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ రిటర్న్ టైప్, వి ప్లేస్ void. So with this possibilities, okay, specifying type, specifying void, here specifying parameters, specifying void, with these possibilities, we have 4 different types of functions in our C. Okay, in C language, we have 4 different types of functions. In that, the first one, you put both as void, ma. Input also void and output also void. అంటే మనం ఫంక్షన్ కి ఏం పాస్ చెయ్యము అండ్ ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి ఏం రిటర్న్ కూడా చెయ్యము. సో సచ్ థింగ్, సచ్ అ కేస్ వి కాల్ ఇట్ యాజ్ void functions. Void functions. Void means basically we are talking about return type ma here. Void function ante return type గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాము. So whenever we say a void function, it will not return anything. Understand it like that. Void function, when we are saying, it will not return anything. So void function without parameters, because both voids we said. Here also void, here also void. Return type void, parameter void. So void function without parameters. Without parameters. Okay, this is my first type. And second type, with parameters. We will pass the parameters. Parameters ని మనం void చేయమమ్మా. Only return type నే void చేస్తాం. So అలాంటి కేస్ ని మనం ఏమంటాము? That will be my second type. So again, return type void ఉంది కాబట్టి my function will be void function. Void function. But this time we set with parameters because I said I'm going to have parameters. So with parameters. Void function with parameters. And my third case will be just make this void as type. Okay, అంటే మనం ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి వాల్యూని రిటర్న్ చేస్తున్నాం. ఓకే, ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి వాల్యూని రిటర్న్ చేస్తున్నాం. ఫంక్షన్ రిటర్న్ టైప్ ని వాయిడ్ చేయట్లేదు. సో ఇన్ దట్ కేస్ వి కాల్ ద ఫంక్షన్ యాజ్ నాన్ వాయిడ్. ఓకే, నాన్ వాయిడ్ ఫంక్షన్ ఏం చేస్తుంది? నాన్ వాయిడ్ ఫంక్షన్ విల్ ఆల్వేస్ రిటర్న్ అ వాల్యూ. Do understand and remember. Non-void function means the function will return a value. So non-void function without parameters. The first case, here we are just creating the alternate. Okay, without parameters. Without parameters. And the last case will be same thing as usual, as you can expect, non-void with parameters. Non-void function with parameters. With parameters. Okay, these four cases, just try to understand. Void function without parameters. This is the first type of function. Void function with parameters. Without parameters, with parameters. Then non-void function. Non-void function without parameters. Non-void function with parameters. అంటే మనకు ఉన్న ఈ 4 possibilities, అంటే మనకున్న ఈ 2 ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ లో, ఇక్కడ ఇన్పుట్, దిస్ ఈస్ యువర్ ఇన్పుట్. We said yesterday, this is our output. Input output ki any possibilities unnai? Either we can mention the parameters or not mentioning the parameters. Either we can mention the return type, not mentioning the return type. So with this with these two combinations, we made 4 possibilities. Okay, so these 4 possibilities will become our function type. So we need to discuss each one of these function type into detail. Okay, so as I said here, if my function name is func, let us understand func, then void function without parameters means how the prototype, how the signature, how the declaration will be. Just return type will be void. Okay, return type will be void and parameter list is also void. This will be my declaration. This will be my prototype. This is void function because the return type is void. Void function without parameters, as it is not having any parameters. Okay, void function without parameter. Then my second type, same function func ne consider cheyandi, function name. Then I am saying void function. So return type should be void only. Okay, and I am considering I will pass 2 integers because parameters should be there. We are not saying without parameters ma. ఇక్కడ మనం వితౌట్ పారామీటర్స్ అని అనట్లేదు. సో ద ఫంక్షన్ షుడ్ టేక్ సమ్ ఇన్పుట్. ఆ సమ్ ఇన్పుట్ ప్లేస్ లో నేను ఏం కన్సిడర్ చేస్తున్నాను? 2 ఇంటీజర్ వాల్యూస్ ని ఫంక్షన్ ఇన్పుట్ గా తీసుకుంటుందని అనుకుంటున్నాను. 2 ఇంటీజర్ వాల్యూస్ ని పారామీటర్స్ గా తీసుకుంటుందని అనుకుంటున్నాను. సో నౌ మై ఫంక్షన్ విల్ బికమ్ void function with parameters, where my function will take 2 integer parameters. Hopefully you understood. 2 integer parameters as input. Hope you understood. My third case, non-void. So I cannot make my return type as void in this case. Hope you understood. Okay, I cannot make my return type as void in this case. So what I have to do, again, take the function name. I'll make the function name as func and return type should be non-void. So I will not mention void here. Instead of void, I will mention any of the primitive type. Okay, so for our simplicity, for our easy understanding, I will consider the return type as int only. Okay, int only. So in function return type is int. So this is my non-void function. And we said without parameters. So without parameters means parameter list, again we need to make it as void. Void means no parameters. So hopefully you understood. This function, it is an example. It is a type of non-void function without parameters. Non-void function without parameters. So this is example for this. This is example for this. This is example for this. Now the last case, non-void with parameters. So what I have to, same thing, non-void with parameters. Make that one. So my function name, I'll make it as func only, and the non-void function, so I'll make the return type as int, and with parameters, so I'll make the parameters as int comma int. Quickly you take down these 4 examples, and whatever I explained you have to remember. Okay, so this is the last type. Again we will discuss, we have slides. In that also we will see the same explanation will be there. In that also we will quickly quickly revisit what are these function types, and then we have to do examples. Okay, examples are particularly very important. Okay, examples are particularly very important. So we will do the execution also for all these 4 types. Okay, so after this, interfunction communication, that's it. We discuss interfunction communication, and there are also 3 possibilities we will have. Okay, with that we conclude today's session. Okay, I'm not going to bother you much. With that we conclude today's session. Okay, so hopefully you took this thing, whatever we have on the whiteboard. So let me just shift to the slides. Yes, here you can see basic function design. The classification of the basic function design is done by their return value. We already discussed, classification manam ela chestunnam based on return value and parameter list. Return values and parameter list. ఈ 2 things ని, ఓకే, ఈ 2 things కి పాసిబుల్ అయ్యే కాంబినేషన్స్ ని తీసుకొనే మనం ఫంక్షన్స్ ని కేటగరైజ్ చేశాం, అంటే క్లాసిఫికేషన్ చేశాం. ఓకే, functions either return a value or don't. Returning the value in the sense specifying any specific type. Don't in the sense void. Okay, functions that don't return a value is known as void function. Already we discussed this. Functions that don't return a value is known as void function. Okay, based on the requirement parameter list, it is also optional. Either we can have the parameters or don't. Okay, parameters ఉండొచ్చు లేదా parameters ఉండకపోవచ్చు. Okay, so with these 4 possibilities, with these 4 ante 2 possibilities for return type and 2 possibilities for parameters, we can make 4 different types of functions. Okay, combining the return values and parameter lists, functions can be classified into 4 basic designs. Okay, 4 basic designs, as you can see here: void functions without parameters, void functions with parameters, non-void functions without parameters, and lastly non-void functions with parameters. Okay, so one by one, quickly we'll go to the first one: void functions without parameters. See here, void functions can be written without any parameters. As the void function does not have any return value, it can be used only as a statement. We cannot use it as an expression. Okay, when we go for further categories, ante manam last category varaku velle lopu, you will understand this. What do you mean by using a function call as a statement and using a function call as an expression? Okay, before that only you will understand. Okay, so now you just remember, whenever we use a void function, okay, whenever we use a void function in our program, it can be used like a statement. Better you note down this thing. Okay, a void function can be used, a void function can be used like a statement only. A void function can be used like a statement only. It cannot be used in an expression. It cannot be used in an expression. See here, if this greeting, if this is your void function, and if you assign the result of this greeting to some variable, doing such a thing is an error, because greeting, we said, it is a void function. Okay, in the declaration itself we say greeting as a void function. So if you assign that function call, greeting function call, to a variable, that results to an error. Okay, that results to an error. So assigning, that is nothing but using the void function in an expression, will result to an error. Hopefully you understood, ma. So, already I gave the explanation about how the function, how we can make a function as a void. Simply make the return type as void, then the function will become a void function. If you make the return type of a function as void, your function will become a void function. So that void function you cannot use as a expression, rather you can use it like a statement only. Hopefully it is clear, ma. So quickly we demonstrate this. I mean, void functions without parameters. We demonstrate this with the help of an example. See here you can see that. So what I'm doing, ma, I'm using a function with name add. Here this is the declaration, ma. First we need to check the declaration. Okay, here the function declaration add I'm using, and in that add, to that add, I'm not sending any parameters. As you can see, parameters are void. Okay, and the return value also void. So that means neither it will take anything nor it will return anything. Okay, so neither it will take anything nor it will return anything. That's the reason you can see add I used as a statement only. I'm not using like an expression here. ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ లాగా మనం యూజ్ చేయట్లేదమ్మా యాడ్ ని. ఓకే, ఎందుకంటే యాడ్ అనే ఫంక్షన్ వాల్యూని రిటర్న్ చేయట్లేదు కాబట్టి, యాజ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ రిటర్నింగ్ ఎనీ వాల్యూ, వీఆర్ యూజింగ్ ఇట్ లైక్ అ స్టేట్మెంట్, వీఆర్ నాట్ యూజింగ్ ఇట్ లైక్ అన్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్. Okay, so as I don't have to pass anything to this function. You can see this particular area, it is empty. Okay, so it is a without parameter function, and as you can see here also I have not initialized the function call to any variable, because the return value is void here. Okay, so I'm just calling this function. So what will happen when you execute this program? The control comes over here, then immediately enters into the main and sees this function call. Okay, sees this function call, compares this with the declaration. As the declaration satisfied, it will jumps to the definition. It will come to the definition, and inside definition what we are doing, ma, we are initializing two variables, a b అనే variables ని initialize చేస్తున్నాం, a with 10, b with 20. Okay, you can initialize or you can read the values also. Printf scanf use చేసి you can even read the value of a and b here. Okay, then we are taking a temporary variable sum, we are calculating the sum, we are printing the sum. Whole thing we are doing inside this add function only. Nothing we are sending from the main and nothing we are returning back to main. యాజ్ యూ కెన్ సీ ఇక్కడ నుంచి మనం మెయిన్ ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి ఏ వాల్యూని ఇక్కడికి తీసుకోలేదు. ఓకే, యాక్చువల్ పారామీటర్స్, ఫార్మల్ పారామీటర్స్ యూజ్ చేసి ఏ వాల్యూని కూడా మనం కాపీ చేసుకోలేదు, అండ్ ఏ వాల్యూని కూడా మనం రిటర్న్ చెయ్యట్లేదమ్మా. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ది వెరీ బేసిక్ ఫంక్షన్ వీ కెన్ సే, ఫంక్షన్ category we can say. Okay, void function without any parameters. So quickly I will demonstrate for you this thing. So I will write only once the code, the same code I am going to reuse in all four categories. So first we are have to declare the function. So function declaration. Okay, then our main. Okay, in it what I have to, I need to call, yeah, first do the function declaration. I have not done that here. Yeah, do the function declaration. We set void function, function name add without parameters. So void only. Put the semicolon. This is void function. Here I will write void function without parameters. Hope you understood. Yeah, now call the function. Function call. What I have to, I can use this void function as a statement only. So add off. Next is return 0. My main is returning 0. Now function definition. Function definition. Yes. Okay. How function definition? Return value void, add off void. No parameters. So void. Now, yeah, here no need of specifying this void. Yeah, come down. Yeah, here యాక్చువల్ గా ఫార్మల్ పారామీటర్స్ మనం స్పెసిఫై చేయాలమ్మా బికాస్ మై ఫంక్షన్ పారామీటర్ లిస్ట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ వాయిడ్ సో ఐ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ పారామీటర్స్ విచ్ ఐఎమ్ పాసింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ హియర్ సో ఐ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ పారామీటర్స్ which I'm going to receive over here. Okay, so you can even make void, nothing will change. Okay, so now here what I have to declare the variables a comma b comma sum. Okay, next read the values, printf. Okay, enter values for a comma b. Okay, then scanf percentile d percentile d. I'm reading to both values at once, ampersand a ampersand b. Okay, next thing, calculate the sum a plus b. Okay, now print the sum because everything we are not receiving anything, we are not sending anything back. So everything we have to do, reading the values, calculating the values, and printing the values we have to do within the function itself. So printf yeah, sum equals to percentile d comma sum. That's it. Go to the end, put the semicolon. Okay, so here fun demo dot c, yeah, override it. Okay, my program got saved and I just have to compile. As you can see, no errors. Now execute. Yeah, it is asking me to input a comma b values. So 56 first value, 23 second value. So sum 79. And from where we are getting this whole thing? From the function, user defined function only we are getting, because we are not doing anything in the main. Hope it is clear, ma. Hope it is clear. As we are doing everything in the function, user defined function only, we call this as non-void function without parameters. Okay, this is one way of using functions in your program. Okay, one way of using, one category of using functions in your program, where a function neither receive anything from the calling function nor return anything back to the calling function. Remember, here not void function without parameters, neither receiving anything from the calling function. Ikkada calling function enti, mana main function will be the calling function. Okay, and what is the called function? Add function is the called function. And as you can see, add is not receiving anything from the main and add is not returning anything back to the main. Okay, that is what happens when you use void function without parameters. Okay, సో ఈ అండర్స్టాండింగ్ మనకు రావాలి ఇక్కడ నుంచి. అంటే మనం వాయిడ్ ఫంక్షన్ వితౌట్ పారామీటర్స్ యూజ్ చేసినప్పుడు మన కాలింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ వచ్చేసి ఏ వాల్యూని కాల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్ కి పాస్ చేయదు అండ్ కాలింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ వచ్చేసి ఏ వాల్యూని కాల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి రిసీవ్ చేసుకోదు. ఇది గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. సేమ్ థింగ్ ఇఫ్ వి డిస్కస్ ఇన్ వ్యూ ఆఫ్ యాడ్. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ది యూజర్ డిఫైన్డ్ కాల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్. సో వీ కెన్ సే లైక్ దిస్: our called function will not receive anything from the calling function and our called function will not return anything back to the called function. Hopefully it is clear, ma. So we will go to the second type. That is void function with parameters. Our second category of functions is void function with parameters. So now the function can have parameters, but still the return type is void only. Only thing which changes from the previous category is here the function can have parameters. Okay, so parameters are helpful in passing the value. So why we use parameters, ma? From the calling function to the called function we pass the values, passing the values. అంటే మెయిన్ ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి ఏదైనా వాల్యూస్ ని మీరు కాల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్ కి పాస్ చేయాలనుకుంటే అది త్రూ పారామీటర్ పాసింగ్ ఓన్లీ వీ కెన్ డూ. ఓకే, సో యాజ్ ద ఫంక్షన్ స్టిల్ వాయిడ్ ఇట్ కెనాట్ రిటర్న్ ఎనీథింగ్ బ్యాక్ టు ది కాల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్. ఓకే, సారీ, బ్యాక్ టు ది కాలింగ్ ఫంక్షన్. ఓకే, అండ్ స్టిల్ ఇట్ కెన్ బి యూజ్డ్ యాజ్ అ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఓన్లీ బట్ నాట్ యాజ్ అన్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ మా. ఇంకా మనం దీన్ని ఒక స్టేట్మెంట్ లాగానే యూజ్ చేయొచ్చు, ద వే హౌ వి యూజ్డ్ ఇట్ ఇన్ అవర్ ప్రీవియస్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్. ఇంకా మనం దాన్ని ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ లాగా యూజ్ చేయడానికి లేదు. Okay, hopefully you understood. So quickly we demonstrate this thing with this same example. Okay, I will show you on the slide. You can see here. Now the function parameter list is no more void. As you can see here, the function parameter list is no more void. It is still int only. Okay, but the return type, it is still void only. Okay, so this is the declaration. And as we are passing the function, as we are passing the parameters from the main, from the calling function, yes, you need to declare the variables, you need to read the variables in main only. After reading, pass those variables. Here you can see A we are passing, B we are passing. Okay, okay, A we are passing, B we are passing as parameters to this add function. Okay, as parameters to this add function. And still, as you can see, add is used like a statement only. It is not used like an expression because return type is still void. Okay, so what will happen? Okay, first we need to understand what we call this AB as. What we call this AB as AB are inside the calling portion, we need to call them as actual parameters. We need to call them as actual parameters. ఇక్కడ వాటిని actual parameters అంటామమ్మా. We call them as actual parameters. Okay, hopefully you understood. And this A, when this function invoked, this A will be copied into this X. We know that. Will be copied into this X. And this B will be copied into this Y. Okay, A X లోకి కాపీ అవుతుంది and B Y లోకి కాపీ అవుతుంది. And we call this XY as formal parameters. Formal parameters. Once again, I am repeating my formal parameters. These are my actual parameters and these are my formal parameters. So ఆల్వేస్ యాక్చువల్ పారామీటర్స్ నుంచి ఫార్మల్ పారామీటర్స్ కి మనకి ఏమొస్తాయమ్మా, కాపీ ఆఫ్ వాల్యూస్ వస్తాయి. అంటే ఇక్కడ మీరు 1020 ఇనిషియలైజ్ చేశారు కదా, XY లో కూడా మనకు 1020నే వస్తుందన్నమాట. ఓకే, సో నౌ here we are declaring only one variable, as you can see in the function definition, because the reading task we have done inside the main and only processing, printing we are doing inside the function. Okay, so after reading, passing them, here we are calculating the sum and printing the sum, and still we are not returning anything back to the calling function. From the called function, we are not returning anything back to the called function. So quickly I will demonstrate this with my code only here. So now what I have to do, instead of void, make the parameter as int, parameter list as int. Now here, obviously, I need to declare int a comma b. అంటే సింపుల్ గా చెప్పాలంటే ఇక్కడ నుంచి నేను ఇది క్యాన్సిల్ చేసేయాలి. దిస్ థింగ్ ఐ నీడ్ టు క్యాన్సిల్ అండ్ ఐ నీడ్ టు పుట్ ఇన్ కాలింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ ఓన్లీ. Okay, and this you remove. Here we need only one now, sum now. Okay, and AB read cheyali ante ee two statements chudandamma. Printf enter values for a comma b, scanf percentile d. This I'm removing and keeping here. Okay, this I'm removing from there. Sorry, before calling the function I need to read. So here I have to put. Now after that I need to call the function, and when calling, previously it was void, so I didn't pass anything, but now it is not void. Okay, parameter list is not void, so what I have to, a comma b ni pass cheyali. Okay, that same thing will be copied here. Formal parameters void kaadu kabatti formal parameters manam declare cheyali. So formal parameters int x, int y. Okay, formal parameters name సేమ్ ఉండాల్సిన అవసరం లేదమ్మా, డిఫరెంట్ పెట్టుకోవాలి. ఎందుకంటే దీస్ ఆర్ డిఫరెంట్ మెమరీ లొకేషన్స్. These two are different memory locations and these two are different memory locations. That's why take different name. Same name తీసుకోవచ్చా సార్ అంటే yes ma, you can. We have a concept called local variable. Very soon we are going to discuss that also. Local variable. So whatever variables you are declaring inside this function definition, they are local to this block only. Okay, they are local to this block. So that's the reason we also said through functions we are achieving data security. అంటే ఏవైతే వేరియబుల్స్ మీరు ఇక్కడ డిక్లేర్ చేస్తారో అవి ఈ ఆ వేరియబుల్స్ స్కోప్ ఈ పర్టికులర్ బ్లాక్ వరకే ఉంటుంది, అవుట్ సైడ్ దిస్ బ్లాక్ ఉండదు. Okay, that is how we are achieving security. Okay, so this is what I need to perform in void function with parameter. Just change this. Now it is void function with parameter. Okay, ఒకవేళ స్క్రీన్ షాట్స్ తీసుకునే possibility ఉందంటే immediately you can take the screenshots ma, that will save our time, or if you are noting down you can. And I'm also telling you, from this video onwards I'm testing the recording also ma, which is going to help you in future preparation. Okay, I will test it. I'm not sure whether it is going to work or not. I'm doing it. If it is successfully done, I will upload this video on the YouTube and I will share the link also with you guys. Okay, so that we are testing only in today's session. So function call, then function definition. Yeah, here we are reading the values, passing the values, copying the values from actual to formal, calculating the sum inside the function definition, and after calculating, printing, and the control goes back with nothing. Okay, how the control goes back ma? With nothing, because the return type is void, and the function and the control exits from our program. Okay, with this statement return 0, our control exits from the program. Hope you understood. Enters, starts from main. Okay, starts from main, reads the values a, b, calls the function add, and when it is calling, jumps from add call to add definition. Whenever it sees the call, it immediately goes to the definition. It jumps from here to here and copies actual parameters a and b into formal parameters x and y. Okay, then inside this definition, it will calculate the sum using this simple formula and prints the sum and returns with nothing to the main function, to the calling function, and exits from the program. ఇది ఎక్కడికి రిటర్న్ అవుతుందమ్మా? రిటర్న్ అవుతుందంటే ఏ పర్టికులర్ స్టేట్మెంట్ కి వస్తుంది? ఎక్కడి నుంచి అయితే జంప్ అయిందో అదే స్టేట్మెంట్ కి రిటర్న్ అవుతుంది. సో ద కంట్రోల్ సింప్లీ రిటర్న్స్ టు హియర్ and returns 0 to the operating system and exits from the program. Hope you understood void function with parameters. This is the concept of void function with parameters. Okay, hopefully you understood. We also have the third type, non-void functions without parameters. So now we are shifting our attention towards the return type. So now we are making the function return type as non-void. Okay, this type of functions returns a value, okay, but didn't have any parameters. ఈ ఫంక్షన్ ఏం చేస్తుంది? వాల్యూని రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది. దట్స్ వై వి కాల్ ఇట్ యాజ్ నాన్ వాయిడ్. వాల్యూని రిటర్న్ చెయ్యకపోతే వాయిడ్, వాల్యూని రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది కాబట్టి వీఆర్ కాలింగ్ ఇట్ యాజ్ నాన్ వాయిడ్, యాజ్ యూ కెన్ సీ. ఓకే, రిటర్న్స్ అ వాల్యూ బట్ డోంట్ హ్యావ్, వితౌట్ పారామీటర్స్ అన్నాం కాబట్టి డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ పారామీటర్స్. ఓకే, ఎస్, ఇలాంటి ఫంక్షన్స్ కి ఒక కామన్ యూజ్ ఉంటుందమ్మా. వి యూజ్ ఇట్ టు రీడ్ డేటా ఫ్రమ్ ది కీబోర్డ్. ఓకే, మనం బిగ్ సైజ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్, వాట్ వి కాల్ కమర్షియల్ లెవెల్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్, సాఫ్ట్వేర్ డిజైనింగ్ లో ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ రాసేటప్పుడు వి యూజ్ దిస్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ నాన్ వాయిడ్ ఫంక్షన్స్ వితౌట్ పారామీటర్స్ ఫర్ రీడింగ్ వాల్యూస్ ఫ్రమ్ ది కీబోర్డ్. ఓకే, యా, యూ విల్ అండర్స్టాండ్ దట్ ఆల్సో. Yes, here the purpose is very simple. As this function returns a specific type of value, we cannot use this function as a statement. ఇప్పుడు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి అమ్మా, ఇందాక వాయిడ్ ఫంక్షన్స్ ని మనం స్టేట్మెంట్స్ గానే యూజ్ చేశాం. ఓకే, వి యూజ్డ్ దెమ్ లైక్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ ఓన్లీ ఫర్ వాయిడ్ ఫంక్షన్స్. బట్ నాన్ వాయిడ్, ఇఫ్ యూ యూజ్ నాన్ వాయిడ్ ఫంక్షన్స్ లైక్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్, దెన్ రిటర్న్ వాల్యూ విల్ బి డిస్కార్డెడ్. ఏదైతే వాల్యూని మనం రిటర్న్ చేయాలనుకుంటున్నామో ఆ రిటర్న్ అయిన వాల్యూ డిస్కార్డ్ అయిపోతుంది, యూజ్ లోకి రాదు. ఓకే, సో ఆల్వేస్ యూజ్ ది నాన్ వాయిడ్ ఫంక్షన్స్ ఇన్ అన్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్. ఓకే, అండ్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ లో యూజ్ చేయడం అంటే we need to initialize the function call. Here you can see function call must be initialized with a variable. Okay, we need to initialize the function call with a variable. What type of variable? వాట్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ వేరియబుల్ తో ఇనిషియలైజ్ చేయాలమ్మా? ఏదైతే వాల్యూని ఫంక్షన్ రిటర్న్ చేస్తుందో, ఏదైతే టైప్ ఆఫ్ వాల్యూని ఫంక్షన్ రిటర్న్ చేస్తుందో అదే టైప్ ఆఫ్ వేరియబుల్ తోటి ఇనిషియలైజ్ చేయాలి. Hopefully you understood. So quickly I will demonstrate this. Here you can see. Yeah, now we made our function, same function add. Parameter list is void, ma. Still the parameter list is void. But the return type, as you can see, it is integer. That means my function will return an integer value, but will not take anything as input. Okay. So input em తీసుకోవట్లేదు కాబట్టి again we are shifting AB to called function only. Okay, reading job we are doing inside the called function only. Now here we are just calculating the sum and returning the sum from the function definition. ఏదైతే sum ని మనం రిటర్న్ చేస్తున్నామో ఆ sum ని హోల్డ్ చేయడానికి here we have created a temporary variable and we have initialized the function call to the temporary variable. And finally result వచ్చేసి we are printing inside the main only, called function only. Okay, so this is the reading and calculating we are doing inside the called, and printing the result we are doing inside the calling. Okay, hope you understood. This is my calling, this particular area is my calling, and this particular area is my called. Here I will write calling portion. This is called portion. So called portion we are reading and calculating the sum. Calling portion we are simply printing the result. Okay, how we are printing? Here you can see we are passing nothing. Okay, we are reading here itself, calculating here itself, and returning. As you can see, return statement use చేసి మనం return keyword use చేసి value ని return చేస్తున్నాం. ఏదైతే value ని మనం return చేస్తున్నామో ఆ value ఎక్కడికి వస్తుందమ్మా? ఈ పర్టిక్యులర్ ఏరియాలోకి వస్తుంది, ఇక్కడికి వస్తుంది ఆ value. And the same thing will be stored inside sum. ఇక్కడికి వస్తుంది and sum లోకి ఇనిషియలైజ్ అయిపోతుంది. And immediately that same sum we are printing here. Okay, hope you understood. So quickly I will demonstrate this code. Yeah, what we have to, here no more parameter list, make it as void only. Here also no more formal parameters because the function parameter list is void, so make this also void. And we said the function will return an integer value, so here also you make it as integer. Now ఈ సమ్ ని మనం పైకి పాస్ చేసేస్తామమ్మా, పైకి షిఫ్ట్ చేసేస్తాం, అండ్ ఈ ఏబిని కిందికి షిఫ్ట్ చేసేస్తాం. ఓకే, బికాస్ ద ఫంక్షన్ విల్ నాట్ పాస్ ఎనీథింగ్ బట్ రిసీవ్ సమ్. కాలింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ విల్ నాట్ పాస్ ఎనీథింగ్ బట్ రిసీవ్ రిజల్ట్. సో హియర్ వాట్ ఐ హావ్ టు మేక్ ఇట్ యాజ్ ఎంప్టీ, అండ్ ఈ సమ్ కి మనం ఏం చేయాలి? సమ్ కి యాడ్ కాల్ ని ఇనిషియలైజ్ చేయాలి, యాడ్ కాల్ ని ఇనిషియలైజ్ చేయాలి like this. And this part we will do now inside called function only. After declaration, read the values, calculate the sum, and ఇక్కడ మనం sum ని print చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఉందా? No, we will return the sum. We will return the sum like this one. This is how the code will be. Okay, function declaration, and this is non-void function without parameters. Our third type, non-void function without parameters. Non-void function without parameters. Okay, so here in this non-void functions without parameters, the calling function will not send anything but receive the output. Okay, but receives a value from the called function. Not send anything but receives a value. So that is how you need to understand. Just save it, compile it. Yes, sum I need to declare now. Still they are AB, comma, sum I need to declare. As you can see, I am using 2 times same name. Here also sum I am using, here also sum I am using. So this sum is limited to this block only. Out of this block, there is no scope of this sum. It is like a dead thing. Out of this block, it is like a dead thing. No scope of it. But this sum, it is also within this block only. Outside of this block, this sum doesn't exist. Hopefully you understood. So now just compile, run it. Yeah, it is asking me to input 2 values, a comma b. So I'll input 23 first value and 45 second value. Okay, I think we are not printing. As you can see, we are not printing the sum. Here we have received the sum, but we have not printed the sum. So that correction I need to do. Just go back here. After receiving the sum, print the sum. Printf addition or sum equals to percentile d comma sum. Now it will give the result. Okay, compile it, run it. Okay, enter 23, some 45, you can see 68 it is giving. Okay, some value it is giving, and this statement from where we are printing sum equals to 68, from the calling portion only we are printing. Hopefully you understood, ma. This is the third category, non-void functions without parameters. And last category we have, that is non-void functions with parameters. So all gates are open, ma. Both input gate is open as well as output gate is also open. We are not going to close anything using void. All gates are open. So this type of function passes the parameters. Okay, they will receive the parameters from the calling function and returns a value back to the calling function. Values ni receive kuda cheskuntayi and value ni return kuda chestayi, as both gates are open. Okay, and as these functions returns a specific value, ఈ functions value ని return చేస్తాయి కాబట్టి we need to initialize the function call with a specific type of variable. Specific type variable తోటి మనం function call ని initialize చేయాలి. We need to initialize the function call with a specific type of variable. Quickly we demonstrate this thing. As you can see here, both my parameter list is open. Int it is receiving, and return value also int, so output also it will give. As here it is receiving the input. Inside my main only, I'm reading the values. From the main only, I'm passing the values as actual parameters, and whatever add function will return, that I'm storing into sum. Okay, that I'm storing into sum, and that sum I'm printing over here. From the calling function only, I'm printing here. Okay, so inside, after this call, inside the function definition, what is happening, you just see. A value, after the call, A value gets copied into X, B value gets copied into Y, and here I am declaring a temporary variable result, RES. I am not declaring summa, as you can see. I am declaring a different variable over here, just for your understanding. Okay, result I am declaring, and result I am calculating by adding X plus Y, and result I am returning from the add back to the main. Okay, from the called back to the calling. Because add is my called, main is my calling. Okay, so I'm returning the result back to the calling. So that result, where it will come, wherever I have the called portion, ikkadiki వచ్చేస్తుంది. Wherever I'm having the calling portion, అక్కడికి వచ్చేస్తుంది. ఆ particular point నుంచి sum లోకి store అవుతుందమ్మా, and here it will be printed. Okay, so we'll do these corrections quickly. We'll do these corrections in our code. So what I have to, yeah, here also I need to declare A comma B, and I need to read A comma B. Now no more reading inside the called portion, reading inside the calling portion only. Okay, reading అయిపోయింది, and pass the values A comma B, and store the result into sum, print the sum. That's it. Here no more corrections. But inside the function definition, just remove this. Either you can use the same name or use a different name, just for our understanding. Okay, now this result we need to calculate by using A plus B, and return that result only. As you can see, int result equals to A plus B, and I'm returning result. Clear, ma? So this result, whatever I'm returning from the calling, from the called portion, where it will go? It will go to the calling area. Here I have that calling area. So this result will come here and will be stored inside sum. First ekkadi nunchi start avutundamma execution. Once again, main nunchi start avutundi. AB sum declare avutayi, AB values read avutayi, then add function call avutundi by passing AB values, actual values. Okay, actual parameter values. So call అయిందంటే call నుంచి definition కి jump అవుతుంది control, and here we need to receive the values. AB values we are passing, right, actual parameters. So we need to receive them into formal parameters. Int x comma, ఇక్కడ AB నే పెట్టానా, okay, int A comma int B. Okay, because they are local, local to this block, you can have same name. Now my actual parameter names AB, formal parameter names also AB. Like that you can take, it will not change anything. Like that you can take, or you can have a different names also. Okay, different names తీసుకున్నా, same name తీసుకున్నా పెద్ద difference అనేది ఉండదమ్మా. So here also x comma y. Okay. Now what will happen? A value will be copied into x, b value will be copied into y. Result will be calculated based on these xy values. Okay. Formal parameter values, and result will be forwarded back. Result will be returned back to the calling portion. And where it will go? Here it will go, will be assigned to sum, and the same sum we are printing here, and we are exiting from the program. So control will be like this: call, jump here, execute this, return back to here, and exit. Likewise it will go. So save it, just compile it. Yeah, what did you see? Too many arguments to function add. Yeah, here see, declaration we have not changed. Declaration we have not changed, as you can see. That's the reason I'm getting this error. Declaration ante nenu function call ayyetapudu immediately it will matches with the declaration. As the declaration is not matching, it is giving me error. I said in the declaration I said the parameter list will be void, but when I'm calling, I'm passing AB. So there is a mismatch. So that's the reason too many arguments to function add it is giving. So what I have to do here, I need to change it to int comma int. Like this I need to change. Now save it, compile it, compilation successful. Now run it. Yeah, it is successfully executed, and it is asking me to input a comma b values. I will input a value as 23, b value as 32, and result I am getting 55. Okay, ఇక్కడ వాల్యూస్ ని రీడ్ చేస్తున్నామమ్మా, సమ్ ఇక్కడ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తున్నాం, ప్రింట్ ఇక్కడనే చేస్తున్నాం. My main function, now my calling function is responsible for reading and outputting values, but my add function is responsible for calculating the sum. So this is what the concept of non-void functions without parameters. Okay, so in this way we understood all four types of functions, all four categories of functions. Okay, so this user defined functions we already discussed. We discussed what is function declaration, what is function call, what is function definition, everything. Function header ante enti, body, parameter list, formal parameters, actual parameters, all this we have discussed. So quickly we discuss about inter-function communication. Okay, let me just see how much time elapsed. Yeah, still we have time. Let me just go with inter-function communication. At least we try to put the basic of this concept. In tomorrow's session we'll go into deep and we'll try to cover up. Okay, but every topic need detailing. Without detailing you won't understand, because I said I'm recording this video, that's why I'm going a bit more into detailing. Okay, so inter-function communication, yeah, here see, when we have multiple functions, okay, when we have multiple functions in our program, we said every function is responsible for calling another function. Okay, every function, in order to get the service of a function, it has to call it. ఏదైతే ఫంక్షన్ మనం రాస్తున్నామో ఆ ఫంక్షన్ కి, ఆ ఫంక్షన్ సర్వీస్ ని వేరే ఫంక్షన్ తీసుకోవాలంటే ఏం చేయాలి? ఆ ఫంక్షన్ ని కాల్ చేయాలి. ఓకే, సపోజ్ ఐ హావ్ రిటర్న్ అ ఫంక్షన్ విత్ నేమ్ యాడ్. ఆ ఫంక్షన్ ఎలాంటి సర్వీస్ ని ఇస్తుంది? వాట్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ సర్వీస్ దట్ ఫంక్షన్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు గివ్? It will add any two numbers for us, or if you are writing a function to add some n numbers, okay, then the service of that function is to add n numbers. So in order to get that service, okay, in order to get that service, what I have to do? I need to call that function. So when my function is calling a service function, okay, my function will become what? My function will become calling function. Here you can see that one. My function will become calling function. Okay, to get the service. Okay, ఏదైతే ఫంక్షన్ సర్వీస్ ని ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తుందో, వాట్ ఎవర్ ఫంక్షన్ విచ్ ఇస్ ప్రొవైడింగ్ సర్వీస్, we call it as called function. Okay, calling function, called function, already we understood, basically we are calling all our functions from main, so we are calling main as calling function and all our user defined functions as called functions. So between these two, calling function and called function, the mean for communication is parameters only, input only. through parameters only, they both function will share the data. కాలింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి కాల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్ కి, కాల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి కాలింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ కి డేటా అనేది ఎలా పాస్ అవుతుందమ్మా? త్రూ పారామీటర్స్ ఓన్లీ ఇట్ విల్ పాస్. ఓకే, సో దిస్ ఇంటర్ ఫంక్షన్ కమ్యూనికేషన్ మెకానిజం ఏదైతే ఉందో, వాట్ ఎవర్ మెకానిజం వి హ్యావ్ ఓవర్ హియర్, ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో కాల్డ్ యాజ్ పారామీటర్ పాసింగ్ టెక్నిక్. ఓకే, పారామీటర్ పాసింగ్ టెక్నిక్. Because in your exams they use these two terms, parameter passing techniques. Okay, these two terms they will use. Either they will call it as interfunction communication, or ante in some textbooks they discussed this concept as interfunction communication, and in some textbooks they discussed this concept as parameter passing techniques. Okay, nevertheless we discuss both. Okay, because we don't know how the JNTU paper is going to be, so we discuss both interfunction communication as well as parameter passing technique. There is nothing ma. See, in interfunction communication we have the topics like downward flow, upward flow, bidirectional flow, and in parameter passing, whatever downward flow we have na, we call it as call by value. We call it as call by value. దీన్నే మనం కాల్ బై వాల్యూ అంటాం. డౌన్వర్డ్ ఫ్లోనే కాల్ బై వాల్యూ అంటాం. ఓకే, దెన్ వాట్ ఎవర్ అప్వర్డ్ ఫ్లో, బైడైరెక్షనల్ ఫ్లో we have, right, we call collectively as call by reference. Call by reference. Call by reference. Just take down these important points. Our interfunction communication will also be asked, or will also be called like parameter passing techniques. Okay, parameter passing techniques. And this parameter passing techniques of two types: call by value, call by reference. Okay, interfunction communication we have three different types: downward flow, upward flow, bidirectional flow. Okay, so hopefully you understood the data flow between your calling and called function can be divided into three strategies: downward flow, which is also known as call by value, and upward flow, which is also known as call by reference, and bidirectional flow, which is also known as call by reference only. Okay, so if they're asking you to write about parameter passing techniques, if they're asking you to write about parameter passing techniques, write any two only. Okay, downward flow ni call by value ga rayali. Downward flow we call it as call by value, but upward flow we have to write it like upward flow we have to write it like a call by reference, or bidirectional flow we have to write it like call by reference. So we mostly deal with this downward and upward only. Bidirectional inside interfunction communication only we will discuss. Okay, so yeah, let's just understand the topic, understand the concept. What is this call by value, call by reference, downward flow, upward flow, bidirectional flow, all these. Okay, so with this diagram you will understand some points. See here, calling function. Calling function is nothing but my main function, because main is many times responsible for calling other functions. So always whenever we see calling function, you understand it like a main function only. Okay, here also same thing, calling function means main. Here also same thing, calling function means main. So if you are sending values only from the calling function to the called function, as we know calling function always comes at the top position and the called function always comes at the bottom down. Okay, so if you send values from calling function to called function, and in return if you not receive anything, రిటర్న్ లో మనం ఎలాంటి వాల్యూని రిసీవ్ చేసుకోవట్లేదమ్మా, ఓన్లీ పాస్ చేస్తున్నాం. అంటే పారామీటర్స్ పెడుతున్నాము, రిటర్న్ టైప్ వాయిడ్. హోప్ యు అండర్స్టూడ్. పారామీటర్స్ ని పెడుతున్నాము బట్ రిటర్న్ టైప్ ఈస్ వాయిడ్. కానీ మనం through return type, if we consider this concept, using return type, how many values we can send, ma? At most only one value we can send. That is not a proper way of communication, right? So when we talk about communication, there should not be any restriction. Okay, there should not be any restriction in the flow. Okay, so here calling function sending the parameters to the called function in a bulk, that is downward flow. దీన్నే మనం ఏమంటాము, downward flow. And as you can see, this arrow, it is representing only passing parameters from the calling function to the called function and nothing in return. Upward మనకు ఎలాంటి arrow లేదు, nothing in return. So this type of communication we call as downward flow. Okay, passing more than one value from the calling function to the called function, it is downward flow. Next is upward. Upward in the sense parameter list will be void because calling function is not passing anything. Okay, parameter list, okay, దీన్ని మనం ఇలా కాదు, parameter list ఉంటుంది but will not pass anything downward, but we receive from the upward. Okay, calling function to called function we don't pass anything, but called function to the calling function we receive something in return. Okay, something which is more than one. Okay, something which is more than one, because return use cheste, return keyword use chesi manam at most we can pass only one value annam. If you want to pass more than one value, what is our strategy? That strategy is nothing but upward communication. Okay, here both bidirectional in the sense both, calling function will send some values to the called function and calling function in return receives values from the called function. Okay, passing, receiving back. Here only receiving back, here only passing. Passing more values from called to calling, sorry, from calling to called is downward. Returning more values from called to calling is upward. Both passing more values, returning more values is bidirectional. This is what we need to understand. Passing already మనకు అర్థం అయిపోయిందమ్మా. Passing no issue because parameter list యూస్ చేసే మనం పాస్ చేస్తాం కాబట్టి more than one value పాస్ చేయాలంటే సింపుల్ గా మనం ఏం చేయాలి, more than one parameter ని స్పెసిఫై చేయాలి. Okay, that is how we can pass more than one value from the calling function to the called function and we receive nothing in return. Okay, ఇక్కడ ప్రాబ్లం వస్తుంది, అప్వర్డ్ కమ్యూనికేషన్ లో ప్రాబ్లం వస్తుంది. ఎందుకంటే రిటర్న్ వాల్యూ యూజ్ చేసి మనం అప్వర్డ్ కమ్యూనికేషన్ జనరల్లీ ఎలా అర్థం చేసుకుంటారు, యూజింగ్ త్రూ రిటర్న్ కీవర్డ్ ఓన్లీ వీ కెన్ సెండ్ ది వాల్యూస్ బ్యాక్ టు ది కాలింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ అని మనకు తెలుసు. ఓకే, బట్ త్రూ రిటర్న్ కీవర్డ్ హౌ మెనీ వాల్యూస్ వీ కెన్ పాస్? అట్ మోస్ట్ ఓన్లీ వన్ వాల్యూ వీ కెన్ పాస్. What if you want to pass more than one value? How you will achieve it? Okay, that we will try to understand here, upward communication. And finally the bidirectional, sending more, receiving more, that we will understand in bidirectional communication. So this particular phenomenon ma, here first strategy edaithe manam discuss chesamo, sending values from calling to the called, దీన్నే మనం call by value అంటాం. కాల్ బై వాల్యూ, ఈ పర్టికులర్ మెకానిజం నే మనం కాల్ బై వాల్యూ అంటాం. ఓకే, అండ్ ఈ టూ థింగ్స్ అప్వర్డ్ బైడైరెక్షనల్ we call them as call by reference. Call by reference. Okay, ఈ టూ స్ట్రాటజీస్ ని కాల్ బై రెఫరెన్స్ స్ట్రాటజీస్ అంటారు. Upward strategy as well as down bidirectional strategy. Only downward strategy, downward flow is known as call by value. Okay, but both these, your upward as well as bidirectional, will be known as call by reference. Hope you understood, ma. So we'll go to the first one, downward flow. We'll go to the first one and try to understand. See here, in downward communication, the calling function sends the data to the called function. అంటే మెయిన్ ఫంక్షన్ మన యూజర్ డిఫైన్డ్ ఫంక్షన్ కి డేటాని పాస్ చేస్తుంది. ఓకే, బట్ ఇన్ ది అపోజిట్ డైరెక్షన్ దెర్ ఇస్ నో డేటా ఫ్లో. నో డేటా ఫ్లో ఇన్ ది అపోజిట్ డైరెక్షన్. నో డేటా ఫ్లో ఇన్ ది అపోజిట్ డైరెక్షన్. ఓకే, ద కాల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్ మే చేంజ్ ద వాల్యూస్ పాస్డ్. ఓకే, ఏదైతే రిసీవింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ ఉందో, మన యూజర్ డిఫైన్డ్ ఫంక్షన్ ఉందో, that function can change the formal parameters. Whatever values we are passing, how we are passing? Through actual parameters we are passing. That will be received in formal parameters. The called function can change the formal parameters. Changing the passed values are nothing but can change the formal parameters. But the actual parameters will remain same, will not change. Okay, because they are different. They are actual parameters. Their memory locations are different. Okay, they remain unchanged. Okay, the pass by value or call by value mechanism is perfect solution for downward flow. Only the data will be flowed in the downward direction. Pass by value anna call by value anna same thing amma. Okay, multiple synonyms you need to remember for every technique. There will be different terminology in different textbooks, so multiple synonyms definitely we need to remember, multiple terms definitely we need to remember. Okay, so we will see this downward communication, how it is one way, and why whatever changes we are doing to the formal parameters will not affect the actual parameters, that we will try to understand. Yeah, make a note of this point in downward flow or in call by value mechanism. దీన్నే మనం call by value mechanism అంటామమ్మా. Call by value mechanism in downward flow or in call by value mechanism, changes made to the formal parameter, changes made to the formal parameter parameters will not affect the actual parameters. Changes made to the formal parameters will not affect the actual parameters. Where we will have actual parameters? In the calling function. Where we will have the formal parameters? In the called function. Okay, hopefully so quickly I will demonstrate this one, how the changes will not affect, that also we will see. Let me just yeah, here this, yeah, what type of demonstration here you can see down fun we have, as it is taking only two integer parameters, so input gate is open, down flow is open, return value always it will be void in all our four, I think it is void only. Yeah, as you can see in all our four cases it is void only. So because return keyword or returning value, whenever we do at most we can return only one value. That's the reason we made this gate closed. Return output gate ni, function output gate ni complete ga close cheseshamamma. Okay, so we talk about only parameters. That's the reason ఈ పర్టికులర్ కాన్సెప్ట్ కి నేమ్ కూడా పారామీటర్ పాసింగ్ టెక్నిక్స్ అని వచ్చింది. Hope you understand that one. Okay, we are not discussing anything related to return type. Return value always will be one only. Okay, that is the limitation what we have inside functions. Okay, so when you want to pass more than one values, you need to depend on parameters, and when you want to receive more than one value back from the called function to the calling function, again we depend on parameters only. That's the reason we call it as parameter passing techniques. Okay, and here they are my actual parameters and they are my formal parameters. You need to understand. Okay, a value 5 and some constant I'm passing. This is argument because it is a constant, and this is a parameter because it is a variable. Okay, so a will be a value, that is 5, will be copied into x. Okay, and then 15 will be copied into y. So here what I'm doing, I'm changing the x value. As you can see, I'm changing the formal parameter. X value ni name chestunnanu. X value enta receive cheskunnanu? 5 receive cheskunnanu. Now I'm making it as 20 because to 5 I'm adding what? I'm adding 15. ఇక్కడ ఏం యాడ్ చేస్తున్నాను? 5 plus 15 యాడ్ చేస్తున్నాను. y లో ఎంత ఉందమ్మా? y లో what I'm receiving? 15 I'm receiving. So that 15 I'm adding to 5, and this result I'm storing into x. So directly I'm changing the formal parameter value. Okay, I'm changing the formal parameter value. So does it going to affect my actual parameter? ఈ ఏని ఎఫెక్ట్ చేస్తుందా అంటే చెయ్యదమ్మా, బికాస్ హియర్ వాట్ ఎవర్ మెమరీ బకెట్స్ వీఆర్ హ్యావింగ్, దిస్ ఈస్ ఏ and this is constant. Anyhow 15 is a constant. So inside this a I have 5. When I'm copying this 5 into x, here we will get separate memory buckets. ఇక్కడ మనకు separate memory buckets క్రియేట్ అవుతాయమ్మా, x y. ఇక్కడ ఈ 5 అనే వాల్యూ ఈ x ఫార్మల్ పారామీటర్ లో కాపీ అవుతుంది, a నుంచి x కి కాపీ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, అండ్ దిస్ 15 విల్ బి కాపీడ్ ఇంటూ y. ఓకే, అండ్ ఆఫ్టర్ మోడిఫికేషన్, ఆఫ్టర్ దిస్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఏదైతే వాల్యూ 20 వస్తుందో దాట్ విల్ బి రిప్లేస్డ్ ఓన్లీ ఇన్ ది ఫార్మల్ పారామీటర్ లొకేషన్ బట్ నాట్ ఇన్ ది యాక్చువల్ పారామీటర్ లొకేషన్. యాక్చువల్ పారామీటర్ లొకేషన్ కంప్లీట్లీ డిఫరెంట్ కాబట్టి అక్కడ వాల్యూ ఇంటాక్ట్ అన్చేంజ్డ్ ఉంటుంది. Okay, so we will see. Okay, we will see by printing both formal parameters as well as actual parameters, and we see the difference. Okay, we'll try to demonstrate and we try to understand. Just be patient, ma. I know it is taking a bit long. So function declaration here, I'll make it as downward flow. Downward flow. దీన్నే మనం ఏమంటాము, call by value. Okay, remember both the names, and here I'll make it as call by value. Okay, so int to my return type, I'll make it as void. Sorry, I'll make it as void. Okay, now here as I'm passing the values, I will read the values and pass the values. Okay, and print the actual parameters. Here actual parameters ni print cheyandamma. Actual parameters, what are they? Percentile d, percentile d. What are they? A comma b are my actual parameters, and here as my function is not having any return type, I can use it like a statement only, not like an expression. Okay, so here before call, after call, both ante read చేసినప్పుడు immediately print చేయడం, it is a useless statement. We know that a and b values will be whatever we are going to read. Okay, so after function call actual parameters ni print చేస్తున్నాను. So inside the function definition, I'm going to receive my a and b here, a and b into x and y. These are my actual parameters, and these are my formal mal parameters. Okay, formal parameters. So here what I'll do, I'll remove this and I will try to change x and y values. So what I'll do, in place of x, x lo edaithe value receive chestano, I will simply add 10 to it. In place of y, y లో ఏదైతే వాల్యూ రిసీవ్ చేస్తున్నానో దానికి 10 యాడ్ చేస్తున్నాను. దట్ ఈస్ హౌ ఐఎమ్ మోడిఫైయింగ్ ది ఫార్మల్ పారామీటర్స్. ఓకే, సో దీస్ టూ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ ఆర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఫర్ చేంజింగ్ ఫార్మల్ పారామీటర్స్. Changing formal parameters. Okay, changing formal parameters. So I need to see, after changing formal parameters, does it going to affect my actual parameters or not? Formal parameters ni change cheste na actual parameters affect avutaya leda, that I need to understand. So save it, compile it. As you can see, there are no errors. Now run it. It will ask me to input the a and b values. Why? Because immediately int nunchi execution start ayindi and immediate statement enter a b values, so that I have to enter 3,5 input chestunnanamma. So a value will be 3, b value will be 5. Okay, so simply hit enter key. See, actual parameters ఏమొచ్చాయమ్మా మనకు 3, 5 వచ్చాయి. సో ఏదైతే వాల్యూస్ రీడ్ చేశానో సేమ్ వాల్యూస్ ని నేను పాస్ చేశాను, ఫంక్షన్ యాడ్ కి పాస్ చేశాను. And inside add, I modified the formal parameters. You can see here, I will print the modified version of formal parameters. So formal parameters, I'm printing first percentile d, space second percentile d comma ampersand x comma not ampersand x comma y. Okay, x comma y. So I'm printing the formal parameter. So here let me just keep one backslash n because otherwise both statements will come in a single line. Okay, so now just compile it, then run it. Now as you can see, yeah, what I can do here, same 3 space 5 you put, hit enter. As you can see, formal parameters change again. When I did these two statements now, my formal parameters got changed. Formal parameter x value became 30 and y value became 15, but my actual parameters a comma b, they are intact, they are unchanged. So here, just to have that clarity, I will also mention what are my actual parameters and what are my formal parameters. Here x comma y are my formal parameters. Just save it one more time, last time execution ma. Okay, as you can see here, so if I put 3 5, a value as 3, b value as 5, you can see formal parameters 13 15, actual parameters a b 3 5. Hopefully you got the clarity ma. So with this understanding, simply remember that whenever we do call by value, okay, changes made to the formal parameter does not affect the actual parameter. Changes made to the formal parameters, okay, does not affect the actual parameters. This statement we need to understand whenever we do downward flow or call by value thing. Okay, hopefully clear, you're clear with this thing ma. Yeah, with this I will conclude the session because it is going too long. I will conclude the session, and in tomorrow's session we will discuss the how changes made to the formal parameters will also affect the actual parameters, that is nothing but call by reference, and how we can push the values, more than one value, from the function that is called function to the calling function. Okay, కాలింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి కాల్ ఫంక్షన్ కి మోర్ దాన్ వన్ వాల్యూని పారామీటర్స్ యూస్ చేసే పాస్ చేస్తామమ్మా. ఇప్పుడు మనం ఏం డిస్కస్ చేస్తామంటే కాల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్ నుంచి కాలింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ కి మోర్ దాన్ వన్ వాల్యూని ఎలా పుష్ చేయాలి. ఓకే, that is what the concept of call by reference. Here it will come reference, and through pointers we are going to achieve that thing. Okay, I'm giving a hint to you in today's session only. How we are going to achieve? Not by passing the values, actual parameters values elagaithe manam pass chestunnamo, actual parameter values ni kaakunda addresses ni pass chestam. Endukante ikkada edaithe memory locations use avutunnayo, we want that same memory locations here also inside the function definition. That is nothing but inside the called portion. Okay, function definition is nothing but your called portion. Yesterday we discussed, right, called portion, and function call is nothing but calling portion. Calling portion, ఇది calling portion నుంచి called portion కి values ని pass చేయడం through parameters. Now receive చేయడం కూడా through return value మనకు తెలుసు, through return type మనకు తెలుసు, but now through parameters how we pass we will understand in tomorrow's session. Okay, so hope you understood the concept clearly in today's session. Okay, thank you very much guys, we'll see you tomorrow.